After many months of running away from her pursuers, a very beautiful and poor mother decided to hide in an orphanage. There she was singing a lullaby to her newborn baby, named Lu Shu, until the owner of the orphanage came to kick her out. Then she looked at her baby for the last time and asked the lady to take care of him while she got some medicine. But after the lady agreed and saw a pendant from us, Lu Shu's mother disappeared like a smoking father. Since the day she disappeared, 18 years have passed, and Lu Shu ended up becoming a bankrupt man who takes care of his younger sister, Xiao Yu, and even though he was poor, he continued to spend all his money on festival schemes to make her happy. When they approached to see the main event, the flames almost burned Lu Shu's face, but in that instant time froze, the entire universe stood still, and his knot pendant glowed golden. No one else noticed this, but Lu Shu realized that the man in front of him was not creating optical illusions, and that all his powers were real and magical. When the show ended, Lu Shu wanted to know what the source was behind his flames, so he went backstage with his sister. As they watched some mysterious men talking, one of them shot a tranquilizer at the wizard, and Xiao Yu screamed in fear. Now, their positions were compromised, but Lu Shu told everyone that they obviously didn't see them shooting a man in front of them, and if they had seen it, they would never report it to the police or anything like that. Fortunately, the idiots believed Lu Shu's lie, so Lu Shu immediately tried to escape, but their leader didn't feel comfortable letting Lu Shu leave like that. As they walked away, a man asked if they were interested in sharing videos on how to make a lot of money while being poor, but Lu Shu said he wasn't interested in selling courses and left. He was already broke after investing in the wrong things, and now he wondered how their world had become so horrible, to the point where a person was shot in front of them. So, to comfort him, Xiao Yu reminded him that they are not related by blood, and that in the future he will have a beautiful girlfriend. As he prepared dinner, she told him that the only thing she wanted to eat was his soul, and after hearing this, Lu Shu decided to leave and buy her some ramen. As we cross the street in freezing weather, we see the coffer truck about to claim another victim, and this time, the chosen one was Lu Shu, and after being hit, his soul began to leave his body. But since this is a Chinese anime, Lu Shu ended up getting a hack system, and the nut in his quintet started to float. When he ascended to heaven, the nut finally opened and released all of its energy to restart his heart. After resurrecting from death, he only thought about one thing, which in this case was that the truck driver should pay for having run over them. So he started telling the man to handle all his money, but some random numbers started to appear above him until the man decided to run away. Then, at the corner store, Lu Shu tried to buy his sister's ramen, but the store manager was shocked to see so much blood falling from his head. So, Lu Shu left and ended up running into a couple on the way home as soon as he arrived and went into the house to take a shower. However, he noticed that the wound on his head had completely healed, and the strangest thing of all was that there was a golden scar on his hand. When he started investigating, he saw a lottery system that informed him about all the coins he had collected, and he realized that he had received these coins at the exact moment he aroused negative emotions in other people. So, he decided to use up all his balance on a wheel of fortune because the Chinese love gambling games, so he was in a hurry to lose all his money without getting any reward. The last spin finally gave him something, and a scroll appeared before his eyes. It had the same lyrics as the lullaby his mother sang to him. Then he started to sing it. With the words of the song, the scroll disintegrated into a sphere of energy in front of him, and from the distant galaxies and a light was cast towards the earth, and Lu Shu began to absorb it all. When he opened his eyes, he was floating in front of a solar system, but after losing all his coins, he realized he could get rich and irritate his sister all night. Have you always wanted to draw your favorite anime characters but think you don't have the talent? Here on our channel we have the perfect solution for you. We formed an exclusive partnership to teach you all how to draw anime quickly and easily. Even if you think you don't have the talent for it, you will learn from Noah Williams, one of the greatest experts in the world of anime. Drawing anime has never been so simple, and it doesn't matter if you are a beginner or already have some experience. From the first class you will see the results. You will learn very quickly. The link will be in the video description, and only you can access and learn today. Then, while they were awake, watching sibling romance limbs, Lu Shu felt something strange happening, and when he went to the rooftop to investigate, he saw two suspicious men jumping on top of the rooftops. Before he was seen, the Lu Shu tried to cover his mouth, but the men had already noticed his presence. They asked what he was doing up there, so Lu Shu said that he didn't notice that they were jumping from one house to another, and that they look very suspicious doing that. He revealed that he was up there just admiring the sky, and the idiots actually believed him. They told him to go home before jumping away again. While waiting inside, Xiaoyu wondered who he was talking to, but a man fell outside the window. So, Lu Shu forced his sister to stay inside while he went to check, and her anger towards this situation caused him to earn many more coins, but she sneaked out behind him, and he told her to charm the ambulance because this man is in bad shape. However, Lu Shu didn't have the money to pay the ambulance fee, so he simply wanted to leave it outside. When he said this, his system awarded him coins, and it was at that moment that Lu Shu realized that the man was pretending to be unconscious, so he told his sister that they should leave this man's body outside anyway, and in case he is dead, he told his sister that they can use him as fertilizer or something. After saying this, he earned 470 coins, and Lu Shu was happy to be on his way to becoming the next demon lord. The man tried to beg for water, so the Lu Shu gave him a snowball, but the man threw it away and begged for water again. again. However, Lu Shu began to push him down and tease him mercilessly just to earn more coins. He said he was just trying to help him rest, but the man had had enough and grabbed his arm trying to burn him, but his heart nullified the burn and began to dissipate the fire no matter how many times the guy tried or burned. He kept earning coins from all this stupid interaction. Then the man said he was just joking and wanted to leave. When he got up, Lu Shu told the man to avoid coming home because he would probably see his wife cheating on him. After saying that, he smiled and gained more points because of it. After that, inside his room, he decided to spend all his coins and buy the first item, which was a celestial fruit. After eating, before he knew it, a beam of light came towards him from the edge of the cosmos, and he was transported back to his solar system, where the celestial fruit became another planet with all the energy leaving its body. He returned to reality and saw the root of a tree forming in his hand. Quickly, he realized that he had become much stronger than before, and after going through all of this, he wanted to accumulate even more coins to see how far he could go. A while later, after seeing a fire on the news, he decided to create chaos in his school's group chat and instantly gained thousands of points. The next morning, in his store, some of his colleagues heard he saw it again, but pretended they didn't see it. This became his daily life, and he explained this to the man next to him, saying that most people were embarrassed to be friends with a broke guy like him. After saying these words, 3 rich kids approached Lu Shu and tried to make fun of him for being poor, but he already responded by saying that they smell more than his expired eggs, annoying all the daddy's boys. Their leader tried to call him ugly, but Lu Shu said his mother was ugly and poor. The guy didn't believe him when he was called poor, so he decided to buy all the eggs to appear rich. However, Lu Shu took advantage of this moment to farm coins, announcing to everyone in line that the idiot in front had bought all his eggs. Due to everyone's irritation, Lu Shu ended up earning several coins for his hack system. The rich kid at your school tried to show his VIP card as a source of payment. You know that Lu Shu doesn't accept cards as payment. However, at that very moment, all the egg money was piled on the table by a beautiful girl who attended the same school as them. Her name is Quincy, and after doing that, she left. And Lu Shu told the boys to clean their asses before leaving the house because they smell like shit. In class, everyone saw the news about the awakening of a superhuman, when out of nowhere, a boy arrived saying that a murder was about to happen on the roof. Lu Shu's gossiper decided to get closer and take a closer look. However, his body out of nowhere felt a danger surrounding him, and as he ran up the stairs, he realized that the girl before him was returning on the roof. On the roof, the delinquent tried to eliminate the director, but Lu Shu, seeing all the ugly characters around him, realized that this was the perfect chance to earn even more coins. He took a step forward and began reciting the damn Chinese constitution, saying that dictatorship is only permitted by the leader of the nation. He also commented that children are allowed to work, to then say that this boy was committing a serious crime, and talking about these things to a delinquent made him end up earning thousands of coins. After all, what he said wasn't solving anything, and as everyone was distracted by Lu Shu's clueless boy act, the police officers ran towards the delinquent and neutralized him. One of the girls approached him and said that she thought it was great that he saved the day, but he told her he's not interested in girls who look like men, earning more points in the process, and that was exactly all he needed to earn all the coins he wanted from this event. But when he entered the room, he saw 2 suspicious scientists in the room who were about to force him to take a blood test. With no way to escape, Lu Shu was forced to take syringes from the men. Luckily they are Chinese, so their toys are quite small. The average there is about 2 centimeters. When he returned home, he saw that stranger from before, but he completely ignored it, pretending that he had never seen it in his life. At home he saw that his sister had developed a fever due to the cold, so he decided to bet all his money on a celestial fruit to cure his sister, instead of simply trying a common remedy. After 30 rounds, he was set to lose all his money from the hack system until he finally won one of the fruits. After getting 4 more fruits, he gave one to his sister, and her fever instantly disappeared. So, we discovered that this anime was made to encourage people to spend money at betting houses. During the day, he decided to give ELO the rest of his fruits, saying that consuming them would allow her to awaken like him. However, at the same time he lost coins, he starts to accumulate them again, calling the poor girl useless for never having done her homework, and that if she continues like this, she will be a girl with no future just like him. The next morning, the teacher explains that only special students will take classes with a new instructor, and Lu Shu remembers seeing him before. The first to be called is the girl who helped Lu Shu. Student by student, the teacher called everyone until Lu Shu was the last to be called. Furthermore, a new transfer student named Jiang will be joining the class, so the girl sitting next to Lu Shu offered her seat to the boy, because she couldn't stand having to deal with Lu Shu's boiled egg smell every day. Before the night, Lu Shu went to attend the secret class, and he was wondering why this suspicious man was a new teacher, and the man revealed in front of all of them that their blood was tested with a special alloy, and the darker the blood mixture created, the higher the person's rank. Those with the highest ranks are capable of annihilating entire cities, and those with F rank are also approved, but they are very weak, and after revealing everyone's rank, he dismissed them. After class, everyone spoke badly about Lu Shu behind his back. I thought he would be stuck in S rank forever, but Lu Shu didn't mind the others at all, and actually decided to earn coins from it, sending text messages saying that everyone's mother is F rank. On the same night, Lu Shu consumed the last celestial celestial fruit and saw that it could now be purchased from the item shop. He also saw that the Wheel of Fortune had unlocked a new item, which this time was expired tofu. With the remaining coins, he started rolling all night, and after hours of spending his coins, he finally hit the jackpot and unlocked a new scroll. But before he could read it, the scroll's energy embedded itself in Xiaoyu's head, and dark energy emanated from the heavens, allowing her to also see the solar system. As he lay in bed, he wondered if there was a connection between his two solar systems, but saw that he needed to roll over 80 expired tofu in order to unlock a new item, and he ended up sleeping, wondering if he could turn his coins into money. So, the next morning, he decided to sell the expired tofu. When one of the people tried the tofu, she thought it was delicious, and because of that, the whole town lined up to try some of the expired tofu. His life began to take a new turn, allowing him to sell his smelly foods for more money. And due to the huge queue, with several people smelling expired tofu, he managed to farm many more coins for his hack system. Before long, he summoned the last of the celestial foods, and his solar system was now finally complete. The same music he heard as a baby began to emanate around him, and he consumed the star's energy, exploding into a million different flames. At this moment, a mysterious dagger appeared before his eyes, and he realized that the giant star had been his soul all this time. So, he tried to summon swords using his soul power. However, when using it, he completely exhausted all of his energy, and he wondered how powerful he would become when he completed all 7 solar systems. The next day, Professor Lise presented the spiritual stone, which in this case is a powerful item that unlocks hidden powers through meditation. In the event, Lu Shu attempted to combine his power with his new sword, but the sheer violence of his heavenly nap nearly overwhelmed him. As he left the house, he noticed a strange old man practicing his swordsmanship, and the old man tried to show off, but Lu Shu had already completely disappeared. At school, the class leader shows his strength in arm wrestling, defeating everyone, but when Lu Shu appears, he tries to challenge him to a duel. However, the Lu Shu is immobile, more tactful, and to completely destroy the class leader's hopes, the Lu Shu told him that he could try to use both arms against him. However, once again, Lu Shu completely destroyed him, and in the end, he thanked him, saying that because of the arm wrestling against him, he ended up awakening his powers and becoming much stronger. During lunch, Lu Shu couldn't get enough of annoying people to get more coins, so he used his special toxic gas ability, making everyone uncomfortable with the smell of expired tofu and earning a lot more coins. After that at home, he felt something strange again, and he told his sister to stay quiet at home while he investigated. It was at that moment that he saw a strange guy lowering his head, and the old man in the house and the neighbor welcomed him as one of the leaders of the Celestial Network. Now, with the world at war, the mysterious leader asked the old man if he would like to become the last member of the Celestial Network, but the old man, who calls himself Lord, rejected his offer. After being rejected, the hare walked away, promising the Lord that he would bring him the medicine he had requested. While on his way, he gave Lu Shu a glance and left. The next morning, Lu Shu became interested in the Lord's swordsmanship, but he still didn't start his training now, and just threw his little sister over to the Lord to take care of her. At school, his chant of negative emotions kept rising, and he began to wonder what the hell his sister was doing. After classes ended, that very beautiful girl who helped him once again looked at him, and when he came back to the house, he saw that the gentleman was actually helping his sister with her math homework, but due to the education that Lu Shu gave her, she was treating the old man very badly, and all the old man's negative emotions were selling coins to Lu Shu, and he realized he could use his sister to accumulate even more coins since they were somehow connected. And now that the Lord has taken care of his sister for him, he really wants to teach Lu Shu how to use a sword. Before they started, Lu Shu begged the man to teach his sister every day, which ended up irritating them both a lot. When Shailu returned home, the master brought him weighted vests, each weighing about 90 kilos, but Lu Shu threw them into the air as if they were a toy, thus revealing that he was one of the awakened superhumans. Upon seeing his absolute power, the old man decided to take a different approach and pointed a piece of paper at the wall. The birds flew away, and a magical work began to envelop the paper. The old man then looked at Lu Shu and said that they would teach that anything in the world can be cut, and with precise movements, he moved the paper downwards, creating a fissure in the ground that cut the steel. That was his first lesson, and he told him that mastering a single skill is better than being average at 10 different skills. Then, the old man ordered him to cut the air using a sword. Lu Shu was determined to master his power and began to cut the air, but his posture was terrible. Fortunately, the master corrected him, and as he progressed, the old man was eager to see how Lu Shu's skills would develop. Hours passed, and at the 1000th blow, Lu Shu finally felt the wind swirl around him. During the night, they had a nice hot drink together, and the master asked Lu Shu what he believes makes a person stronger than others. In response, Lu Shu told him that he thought a person was powerful if he didn't follow anyone else's rules, but the master revealed to him that it takes character, experience, and determination to be stronger. He asks Lu Shu if he would take on more responsibilities if it meant becoming stronger. However, when he thought of these words, Lu Shu revealed that the only person he behaved like was his little sister, and said that he would never take on greater responsibility even if it meant that he would become stronger. He also said that he would never help anyone in this world again, especially since no one helped him when he was younger. For him to just try to survive in this world when his sister is enough, so he doesn't doesn't dream of becoming a hero for now. To hear this, the master takes his huge tea and promises that he will continue teaching Lu Shu. The next morning, Lu Shu's sister was finally starting to learn her lessons, all because the master's wife brought her some Pringles. As he watched this, Lu Shu felt a mysterious presence appearing behind him. A man from the heavenly network appeared, and the master prepared him for the conversation. It was at that moment that Lu Shu realized that his sister might be in danger, so he rushed home immediately. When he arrived, he saw the man, and pretended he had forgotten lunch at home. When Lu Shu left, the man was telling his master that the ruins were beginning to reappear, and that they would cause chaos throughout the nation, and he came to ask his master for help to fight them. But the master rejected him. Before leaving, the man told him that the last placement in the heavenly network was still open for him, and left. It was at that moment that Lu Shu returned to tea, and the man told him that he was excited to see his progress. Then, he asked her to repeat the phrase he taught. However, she offended him, saying that he would die soon from food poisoning after drinking so much tea. Before he left, he handed Lu Shu 2 vials to test his ratings and left. At night, Lu Shu was excited to see how much he had evolved with the celestial fruit, and saw that his blood had become dark enough to classify him as level A, having the power to destroy an entire city. However, his bottle began to glow with the colors of galaxies, and he wondered what this could mean. And while he was trying to bury his result outside, the master asked him what his rating was, but Lu Shu lied to him, saying that his rating was still F, a clear lie that made him earn more coins. During the nights that passed, he continued singing his song, completing more planets in the nebulae, until a blue hour began to envelop him. He tried something no one should do at home, and realized that the second solar system provided him with protection from injury. He wondered how his sister was doing, but within her solar system, black holes were the only thing that appeared, and the center of the nebula began to suck her in. When he entered her room, he saw that she was being consumed by the darkness of her celestial map, until she returned to reality. He said he had finally broken through the first layer. He asked what abilities she managed to unlock, so she focused her energy and summoned the body of an ant, revealing that the poor insect had died last night, but now he obeys her every command. He asked the girl if she could summon more little souls like that, so they went out, and outside she found a group of frozen ants, and tried to summon another one. But the instant the soul of the other ant was summoned, the first ant disintegrated, and they realized that its powers were imitated by a single summoning. He asked what else she could create, so she spawned a flying bird, saying that her summons do not consume any of her energy, and that after being summoned by her, her summons can remain alive forever. Lu Shu wondered if they could use her power to summon an awakened person, so to test something bigger, he took her to a barn, where they chose a poor pig to do some experiments, and after she summoned the soul of the pig, he punched the magic pig to see if it would react the same way as a normal pig, but soon realized that it would be better to use his magic sword than punch the pig. As soon as she left, the pig ran to save its life, but her sword went through the pig, annihilating it with a single blow, and Xiaoyu was irritated by this. She was in a hurry to make her brother her next summon, but he promised he would make her scrambled eggs for a week. However, she wanted scrambled targets for 2 weeks. While feeding her scrambled targets, he felt a surge of energy coming from the bridge, so he got up to leave. Xiaoyu jumped on his back, saying she would go along. After jumping between the buildings, they saw 3 men fighting against the Lu Shu instructor, and among one of the bandits had awakened. The bandit launched hundreds of fireballs towards an instructor, but he managed to dodge them all with his hand until the ropes of the bridge caught fire, and while he was distracted, the man jumped towards him and used the force to almost crush him. But as he fled, one of them began manipulating the floor below him to throw him off balance. The reinforcements arrived in force, approaching and taking care of their allies. However, none of them were able to scratch the leader, so the instructor activated his magic seal to blast them both on the spot, and using the snow to his advantage, the leader from the bandits hid inside the smoke. The instructor's 2 companions ran through the smoke, but as soon as they entered, a giant explosion happened. With all the smoke dissipating, the 3 bandits came out unharmed, so Lu Shu told Xiaoyu to go back, while he went to try to find out the identity of the bandits, as he is very gossipy. Now the National Guard had completely surrounded the bandits' location, and they began to infiltrate their hideout, but they had already escaped to a different alley. The 2 lackeys realized that they were about to be captured, and said that they would be executed, so they began to beg their leader to turn himself in. However, their leader revealed that the Heavenly Network would never leave them alone. After they eliminated 2 of his soldiers, he told his companions that he would create a distraction and try to escape, and with the soldiers approaching, the leader blew up the door to knock them out, but the others had already surrounded. It was at that moment that the leader of the bandits used his 2 companions as body shields, fleeing from all those who attacked him. While running through the alleys, one of the soldiers used his red body fluids to create the enchantment, and attacked the leader of the bandits, the throwing against the wall, leaving the guy with nowhere to run. At that moment the soldiers noticed the bright aura of Lu Shu, the gossiper, above them, so he tried to say that he was looking for his lost cat around here, but his instructor ordered his soldiers to catch him, and started throwing several magic hands at him. However, Lu Shu decided to act like a parkour god, advancing through on top of his enemies using swords and human bodies as a springboard. Obviously the bandit was also hunted, so he threw his companions as a distraction, but the general of the Heavenly Network used his swords to open a hole in his belly. Now the bandit could keep 3 iPhones in there. At the same time, Lu Shu faced two girls at the same time and used his sheets against them in battle. He dodged all the attacks with ease and counterattacked, even throwing a girl against the wall. Lu Shu, a true macho man, a great honor for all Chinese. When the second girl ran after him, he used the sword sheath to knock him to the other side, and using his superior acrobatics, he did a somersault backwards to avoid the sword blows and delivered a deadly blow that left his last enemy unconscious. Below him, the leader of the bandits was still fighting. He was able to dodge all the blows, but the wielder of the double sword pinned him against the wall and almost immobilized him. However, the man crushed the metal swords with his own hands and grabbed his head, throwing dozens of punches at his throat and then dragging him against the wall. At that moment, the instructor threw several of his talismans at the man, but none of them left even a scratch on him. He then threw the unconscious soldier towards Lu Shu and punched the ground, which created a fog that blinded the entire field. The instructor tried to catch Lu Shu off guard, but he jumped to avoid the blow. At that moment, several debris began to come towards the director, and this forced an instructor to use his talismans to light up the entire battlefield. But a gas canister came towards him, and as soon as he realized that the canister was heavy and full of gas, the canister simply exploded in his face, and he was thrown against the wall while burning alive. Fortunately, this kind of damage does not affect, and when the fog dissipated, Lu Shu noticed that all the soldiers had been knocked down, and that the bandit was the only one left standing. At that moment, Lu Shu covered his body with all his energy, and the bandit prepared to deal a punch, but Lu Shu managed to hold him back with his fists. Then the sword inside him started to burn, so it came out and pierced the criminal, who ordered the wrong person to be messed with. After doing so, he returned home doing his legendary parkour moves. Arriving home, he removed his cloak of appearance and invisibility, and told his sister that he wanted to test her powers once again. When they left the house, the man asked him what the hell they were going to do so late at night, so the little girl said that her brother would take her to a 5-star restaurant, and that he would spend all his life savings to make her happy. Lu Shu asked the master if he wanted to participate, but the old man said he didn't have the money for it, and asked them to be careful at night. Very thoughtful of him. As they approached the place where the battles took place, Xia Will summoned her bird to get a better view of the entire area. After making sure that there were no enemies nearby, she and Lu Shu returned to the exact spot where the fight took place, and obviously they noticed that all the bodies had already disappeared. However, as soon as Xia Will entered the place, she noticed the energy of the men who died in that area, and Lu Shu told her to use her soul. She then absorbed their energy, but she still couldn't summon them. She didn't know if the reason was her, or if it was the very souls of the men who had just died, so she asked her brother to wait at least a day. In the end, Lu Shu was happy that they had managed to make some progress, and he told his sister that now it was time to go home, but she told him that he hadn't taken her to a 5-star restaurant yet, and Lu Shu told her that he was just making an excuse for the old man. But the girl currently didn't care about that. She just wanted to spend every penny he has in his broke pocket. In a noodle shop, the little girl started devouring everything with force, and Lu Shu told her that he wished he could take her out to eat every day like this. He believes that if she had stayed in the orphanage, she could have had a better life. But when she heard those words, she started holding back her tears, asking him why he wanted to go send her back there. She started crying, saying she doesn't care if she doesn't have a coat or if she hasn't eaten. For her, the only thing that matters is being with him, because he is her family. At that moment, he remembers when he ran away from the orphanage for the first time, and how she held his hand because she didn't want him to leave her. However, he walked away, leaving her alone all this time while she fought to continue living without roof. He started selling eggs to pay the rent and studying with the time he had left. Loneliness began to slowly eat away at him until he finally saw Xiao and O appear in front of him. At first, he tried to send her back to the orphanage, but she clung to him, and since then her smile became the light which helped him get through every difficult day. He took her back to his apartment, and she was happy to finally be able to live next to him. Whenever his eggs weren't sold and he couldn't afford to buy food, he would take the spoiled harvests he found from the other sellers and take them home for his sister to eat. And even during the freezing winters, Xiao Yi-O would try to do the best she could to take care of her brother. Even when he was too sick to go out, she would try to sell the eggs at his house, because as long as she could continue living with him, no matter what hardship she had to deal with. As time passed, they became each other's warm and survived all the winters together. And remembering all the things they went through, Lu Shu revealed that he wanted to buy a house for them all because he didn't want to worry about paying the rent constantly and living on the brink of starvation. So he promised his sister that one day he would buy the house. At that moment, she held his hand, asking if his days would get better. So he told her that they would definitely, and assured him with even more strength, knowing that thanks to the Hake boy, his life is about to change completely. I also want the Hake boy. I need it. The next morning, Lu Shu started selling his stinky tofu again, but he was starting to run out, and people had gotten used to the bad smell, so he couldn't make any more coins. One of the people asked Lu Shu if he could buy some more tofu, but he said they were all sold out, and all he had to do was say that, and he won several coins from all of them. Then he realized that if he just told these hungry people that he was exhausted, he would be rich as hell, so he started luring them into thinking he had tofu, and then he crushed all their useless dreams, telling them that all his stock had run out. After that one night, a man discovers all of his wife's life savings and takes everything before leaving. Meanwhile, the clock struck midnight, and Xiao Yu finally managed to achieve her goal. stole. She began to see Lu Shu's door, and finally he showed the man she had summoned. Lu Shu asked if she was able to control her powers, and she revealed that she could do anything with him, even read his memories to find out the location of the money they stole. While trying to concentrate, she remembered the place where he and his companions hid the money, and was very excited to go dig it up. However, Lu Shu told her that they would return the money to the police when they found it, but Xiao Yushi was very sad when she saw these words. She asked if they really should return this money. After all, if they had all this money, they could finally buy this house, and she wouldn't have to worry about going back to the orphanage. After hearing this, Lu Shu knelt down, promising her that he would never abandon her, and that they would even buy their own house ethically, without having to use stolen money, saying that he called her ugly, and then told her to go to sleep so she could stay beautiful. She walked away angrily, and after that conversation, Lu Shu remembered how much the little girl wants to continue living with him. He saw a flyer he saw from the house, saying that the place where they live is for sale for 250,000 Chinese coins. The next morning, the fat person who stole his wife's life savings appeared in front of everyone at school, and Lu Shu immediately realized that he was a high-level awakened. The man went up to the podium and introduced himself as the school's new director. However, Lu Shu felt that there was something wrong with him, and during the night the new director introduced himself as Li plus a guy named Li, and he told everyone that they had located a mysterious awakened who had actually destroyed an entire field of soldiers. So in order for the students to evolve quickly, they began to provide all the students with spiritual stones every month, and everything will be arranged according to each person's strength level. C-level awakened ones received 1, B-level awakened ones received 2, and A-level awakened ones received 10. The class leader looked at Lu Shu, but panicked when he saw Lu Shu smiling and sending a text message to he. In the message, Lu Shu said that he had arrived early at school because his mother woke him up early wanting some milk. After they were dismissed, Lu Shu met with Triangle B and asked him if the people would buy the spiritual stones on the black market. The Triangle said that it is illegal to sell the stones, but there are certainly some millionaires interested, and they would be willing to buy each one of them for a lot of money. Lu Shu realized that he had found the gold and told the Triangle that he wanted to sell them for the best possible price. So the Triangle called someone who might be interested, and in just a few seconds a man ended up accepting the deal, even asking for Lu Shu's bank account number. Lu Shu was shocked by the ease with which the sale was made, and gave his stones to his friend, saying that he trusted him, as after so much time together they were already close friends. With the deal closed, he no longer needed to contact him, worry about all those days he spent working in the cold, just to have something to eat at home. After buying her snacks at the convenience store, Lu Shu showed the girl the deed to the house, saying that this house would finally be theirs. In addition, he gave her a new phone number, and had even added himself to the contracts, and from tomorrow this house will be theirs. The patio, floor, walls, dishes, and even the ants will be theirs. They will own all of this. Upon hearing this, the girl immediately hugged him, crying because they are finally going to be together, and asked if he will continue to need to work every day. So he said he would continue selling so they could buy food, but damn, Lu Shu just wanted to piss people off for their coins. In his room, the celestial map appeared before him, and the second animosa was finally completed. At the same time, however, a dark and ominous hour continued to revolve around his sister. While selling his food, the Lu Shu mocked all the people, saying who was thinking about increasing the price, and he ended up gaining hundreds of points just because of their dissatisfaction. Out of nowhere, Principal Liz approached and asked for some stinky tofu, but quickly realized that Lu Shu's face was familiar. Lu Shu revealed that he was one of his students, so Principal Lily said that he wanted to receive free tofu for everyone every day, but the seller of his house shouts at the director to stop taking advantage of Lu Shu's poor, ugly orphan, because his mother no longer loved him, which is why he abandoned her since he was born. He also said that everyone at school bullies him because he smells like eggs and stinky tofu. The man told him that Lu Shu works every day just to pay for food at home, and that he studies all his time free. Upon hearing his sad story, the director cried and handed him Lu Shu without any fuss. As an apology, the man who helped him asked who that bastard was, and Lu Shu told him that he was a new director of his school. After finally giving him all the paperwork to buy from their house, an unknown number called him, telling him that he should go to the ruin that just opened immediately. He texted his sister, saying that they had finally bought the house home, but he needed to make a trip which would last a few days. After that, we see hundreds of military vehicles transporting them to the ruined place. It was at that moment that Lu Shu thought about collecting coins, so he started saying that they all smelled like an anime convention, and so more coins started to accumulate. When they arrived, a boss served meals to all of them, and the leader of the gang went to Lu Shu and said they were happy to finally see him eating something decent, instead of eating that rubbish he picked up from the orphanage's trash can. Upon hearing this, Lu Shu just sighed, and the Quincy appeared from behind and disappeared completely. After the group leader tried to look back, while they were having lunch, an overweight man looked for a place to sit, so one of the soldiers gave him his place to calm him down. However, when he left, Lu Shu approached him and told them to stay, but the fat man politely refused, so Lu Shu slapped him, causing him to fall unconscious on the floor, and Lu Shu did this because he hates fat people. After he did that, Zhang appeared and said he was surprised for him managing to put that fat man in his place, and even offering some of his food as a reward. He said that as they were near ruins, their hack systems would would level up very quickly. So at night Lu Shu wondered how he could enter his celestial map without singing his Lina song. Lu Shu soon realized that it would be fairer to use all his free time to earn more coins. So while the class leader was meditating, Lu Shu started breathing heavily on him and kept interrupting his meditation. Lu Shu started reciting the story of his life to distract his thoughts and continued laughing at the class leader's face. The points continued to rise throughout the night, and in the morning he had 147,000 coins for being a simply annoying person. He wanted to know how his sister was doing, but there was no cellular data to be used. At lunchtime the boss gave more food because he knocked over the person who was consuming an entire barrel, and a soldier even decided to take his seat, but Lu Shu rejected it because he wanted to sit right on the Diang's lap. The Diang asked how he planned to level up, so Lu Shu revealed that he only needed to arm wrestle the class leader once. Having said that, he spent another night bothering the group leader, telling him various things about his life just to irritate the guy, and after hearing Lu Shu's voice so much without stopping, he ran to the edge of a cliff where he thought he could finally have peace and stay peacefully. But Lu Shu appeared, and the leader of the class realized that there was only one thing he could do to escape his suffering, and that was to take away his own. The next day Lu Shu was meditating, away from all the students. He entered his celestial map to release the rest of his fruits, and even unlocked a new planet, entered as light revolved around him, and formed a mantle darkness that encapsulated his body, giving him a new power of invincibility. While everyone gathered for lunch, the boys tried to let Lu Shu go ahead of them, and the class leader appeared laughing while looking for Lu Shu. They loved Lu Shu because he was still in the F ranking, but Lu Shu asked if he wanted to fight one more time to see who was stronger. The class leader really wanted to fight, but the instructor said that they can't fight, so the only thing they can do is participate in an arm wrestling match. That might be okay, so the class leader reluctantly agreed. Inside the camp tent, the two boys faced each other, and everyone was betting that the leader of the group would win. As soon as the round started, Lu Shu smashed the class leader's arm against the table, saying that the class leader's mother is much stronger than him, and that she always puts a lot of pressure on him when they are in bed. Having said that, Lu Shu started shouting, saying that he had leveled up again thanks to the class leader, who is a loser. The instructor, all motivated by the two's arm wrestling, asked Lu Shu if he wanted to arm wrestle with him too, so they started to face each other, but Lu Shu defeated him instantly, and said that it was all thanks to the class leader's mother, because she always made him train like a floor every night. Just in this game of messing with the class leader's mother, Lu Shu made several coins, and after they finished, Lu Shu noticed a mist rising from the ruin, and Jiang revealed that the portal had finally opened, and now that the only way for anyone to get out of that portal would be to get in the Eye of Formatting, and if no one manages to do that, everyone will be stuck inside for the rest of their lives. However, something strange happened. Alarms started to sound, and fog started to spread across the camp, consuming all the people who tried to escape. Before he knew it, Lu Shu was sucked in and fell head first. He could barely stand up, after having suffered a serious concussion. When he opened his eyes he saw that he was in the middle of a desert, and an axe began to fly towards his head, but he dodged it, and a skeleton knight approached him to try to cut it. However, Lu Shu managed to grab his axe and knocked him down, breaking all his bones. After defeating the skeleton, Lu Shu decided to climb a giant rock to get a better view of his location, and he also wondered where everyone had gone. However, an arm started to come out of the ground, so he jumped and started to run away, and the other skeletons could grab him, and after he managed to escape from them, a group of 4 students came running towards him, saying that he needed to run if he didn't want to lose his life. He saw one of his classmates about to be devoured by the zombie, so Lu Shu ran to cut off his head and started cutting down all the zombies that were in his way. But while he was distracted, a zombie jumped on him, and he was almost biting his neck. Instead of helping him, the other students were too scared to save him, so Lu Shu fought to beat the zombie through force, and then crushed the zombie's skull. As he walked back to them, they begged him to stay and protect them, but he told everyone that he would never help some shit who abandoned him, and just because of their attitude of abandoning him he won't help anyone else. He wants everyone to die. With that said, he dropped his axe, and said they were on their own. Die or survive, everything depends on them. It was at that moment that a girl became upset because they hadn't helped him, because if they had done that, Lu Shu would now help them. As a few more days passed, Lu Shu knocked down a zombie, and then used acrobatics to defeat 5 others that were in his path with the sword he obtained. And when darkness approached, he climbed to as high a place as he could to keep the high ground, but along the way he saw the kindly officer who offered his chair to him, and the man was unfortunately dead, so he just kept running while the vultures devoured his corpse. The day there was short-lived, and the night came too quickly, and as he walked a flare appeared, so he jumped up to the sky to knock him down, and quickly went to the one who used the flare. Inside a ravine he saw a man holding this flare, but he knew that no student had received it. Furthermore, his system revealed that the man's name was just numbers instead of letters, so he jumped and wondered if this man was a spy. It turns out that before the fog devoured everyone, a group of spies had loaded their flares, and the guy in front of Lu Shu was one of them. However, Lu Shu had angered every person in the school, thus memorizing each person's face, teacher and every student, and he knew that this guy was definitely not one of them, so he was about to start his little ball in exchange for coins. As the night went on, he kept gaining points just by staring at the guy, so the man ended up trying to introduce himself as Chang. However, Lu Shu said he had never met such such an ugly person. So Chang tried to ask if he could see the sword he picked up. With that said, the two began to slowly walk towards each other. However, before he could pick it up, Lu Shu pulled it away and said that he would use it to penetrate Chang's mother later. It was at that moment that Chang said that his mother had found it last year and tried to run away, but Lu Shu apologized and promised to watch him to make sure he was safe, which angered him even more. Yes, my friends, Lu Shu had found his new victim to cultivate his coins, and he knew that there was no chance of him letting this man escape. They keep running after each other, and Chang is shocked by the fact that Lu Shu managed to following him. Out of nowhere, more zombies began to emerge from within the earth and surrounded them, and Chang saw this as an opportunity to escape Lu Shu, but was shocked that Lu Shu was still behind him. So he told Lu Shu to hand over his sword to him so he could protect them, but as they ran for their lives, Lu Shu thought this was a perfect time to farm more coins. So when Chang turned to get his sword, Lu Shu grabbed it and pretended to be afraid of being left without a sword. When 3 zombies surrounded him, Lu Shu pushed Chang to the ground and started running. One of the zombies tried to bite Chang, but he used a pocket knife to eliminate his enemies and started running for his life. And when Lu Shu started that he was finally away from him, he heard it coming around the corner, staring at him. Then Lu Shu started to pretend that he was out of breath, and it was then that Chang started approaching them, condemning his weapon, and Lu Shu told him to find a place where they could rest for the night. So Chang decided to put away the knife, and they ran towards the Gajia hill. After climbing together, Lu Shu wondered who this person was, but realized that it was the perfect chance to start earning even more coins. Or annoying guy in front of Lu Shu started to pretend that he was sleeping and closed, all this to scare him while he tried to stealthily eliminate. Soon the day dawned, and Lu Shu managed to earn 30,000 coins with this guy, but he started to feel hungry, having not eaten much in the last few days. So he got up and said he would look for something to eat, and when Chang could no longer see him, Lu Shu started eating his smelly tofu and decided to return the opposite way to the one he had entered. And when he saw Chang lying down looking for him, he decided to test the strength of the blood, and poor Chang, poor thing, screamed for his life, but his hunger was so great that he didn't even care about it, and he started asking why he could smell expired tofu. He wondered how it would be possible to find food here since they didn't even have time to prepare. Lu Shu, to earn even more points, started mentioning all the delicious meats that exist, such as bacon, lamb, and steak, causing Chang to release all his anger in one blow. Lu Shu narrowly dodged, and with snow around them, Chang tried to knock him down, and once Lu Shu's acrobatics weren't enough to prevent him from getting kicked in the face, as he was spinning, Chang ran to destroy him, but Lu Shu grabbed his arm and threw him to the ground. However, Chang regained his balance and tried to strike Lu Shu, but he managed to dodge all the attacks and headbutt Lu Shu before giving him juice. Chang realized he was no match for him, so when the snow blinded Lu Shu, he tried to rush to knock him down, but Lu Shu's martial art skills allowed him to knock Lu Shu down. So much so, Chang grabbed his sword and knocked it down. Then Lu Shu ran forward, but took a step to the side at the last second, completely out of the way, and invoked his mystical dagger to copy him, thus defeating the enemy. Fight. Now he was sad to have ended the life of a person who spent a whole day with him, but unfortunately the world is a cruel place. This was not the life he wanted, but if this is how it is going to be, he promised to keep moving forward and wished he could see his sister soon. A few days later, Lu Shu came across an apple that had been half-eaten and realized that he had finally found a fruit to replace his smelly tofu. He started to climb the tree and grabbed one of them, but the squirrel started to get angry, so he decided to eat the apple in front of the squirrel and steal all his apples. Then a bunch of squirrels start stoning him, and a sumo wrestling squirrel even came out of his cave, taking a giant rock to take away from Lu Shu. So he decided that it would be a threat even to animals. When trying to escape, he realized that the fruit fully restored his thirst energy, so he continued occurring until the sun set and he reached a river. After drinking some water, he began to eat even more fruit and realized that the formation's eye must be in the middle of the ruin. But before he could go there, a wolf appeared behind him, and a second wolf tried to lunge at him, but he cut him off and tried to run. As he turned the corner, however, he saw 30 wolves waiting to fight him. Lu Shu started running for his life, but at least he was gaining hundreds of points with every second that passed. When he returned to the forest, the squirrel threw rocks at him again, so he promised to steal all the fruit when he returned. When he was outside the forest, a wolf jumped and cut his arm, and when he tried to eat a celestial fruit, he noticed that his body paint kept appearing. As terrible as it seemed, he knew he would return to his sister alive, so he ran for hours until nightfall, but the wolves continued to chase him. Eventually his shoes started to wear out, so he used them to knock down 2 wolves and started running again. Fortunately, the feeling of running without his shoes was even better, and his speed increased vastly, allowing him to run much faster than the wolves. But ahead he found some of his colleagues grouped together, so he decided to make a grand entrance in front of them. He saw that one of them was carrying his axe, and these same people asked him if he could help them. However, Lu Shu said that he would rather all ugly people die, especially since he had been left to die before. It was at this moment that he encountered an infinite coins glitch, which consisted of making fun of people who were desperate to survive. Then he asked them how long it had been since they had eaten, and the cave revealed that it had been 3 days, and that they were already starting to starve without food or water. She begged him to save her, but he called her a gold digger and started eating in front of them. The sound of the apple being bitten made one of them almost come to his senses, pieces, and it was at that moment that the gold digger knelt down because she was so hungry, so he showed her his tasty apple and she opened her mouth and closed her eyes. But Lu Shu did not want to share his apples. The guys realized that there were 8 of them and Lu Shu was just one. Then their leader tried to ask for food in a threatening manner, but the Lu Shu started reciting all different types of meat, causing these starving people to almost lose their consciousness, and the Lu Shu was actually shocked at the fact that for them to have lasted so long without even eating. He got up to get his axe, which scared them all. After taking the axe, he asked if he wanted the axe back, and when the man said yes, the Lu Shu told him that it was a shame. Having said that, he began to run away from them, leaving the ugly and hungry losers defenseless, but at least he left 2 apples for everyone. Another week passed inside the ruin, and Lu Shu wondered if his sister was still okay. But as he uttered those words, he heard the footsteps of a knight, and as he looked towards the location of the sound, he saw a skeleton knight turning around the corner. In an instant he tried to strike at his face, and the Lu Shu barely managed to keep his foot from slipping, but as he struggled to get it off, he heard 2 more horses running in the distance. Then he pulled out the spear and knocked down the skeleton. The rest of the skeletal soldiers arrived, but the Lu Shu began to climb the mountain so that they could not reach him. However, they started shooting arrows at him, but he managed to dodge all of their attacks until the skeletons gave up on him and started to move away. Without his spear, the skeletal soldier decided to just grab his sword and continued walking away. In the distance, a group of Heavenly Network soldiers had seen that skeleton cavalry, and one of them suggested killing their leader. Then, a man looked on until he noticed that one of the skeletons was only holding a sword instead of a spear. It was at that moment that he came to the conclusion that the one holding the sword was the leader. So, the man decided to shoot the leader, but after successfully eliminating him, they realized that they had shot the wrong skeleton, and so the knights started shooting their arrows at them. They started to run away, and when they left the arena, one of them saw Lu Shu sneaking down the cliff. Before they could act, the Lu Shu jumped to steal the spear from one of the knights and climbed back up the cliff. They all started shooting arrows once again, but he dodged all the shots and left with his new spear. He hid in a tree and waited for the soldiers to come out before jumping, but he remembered that their weapons will be confiscated as soon as they leave the ruins. So, to ensure that all his hard work didn't go to waste, he decided to trade these weapons with the other students. But at that moment he fell into the knight's trap, and they began to approach him. This was all part of their plan, but Lu Shu stood his ground and enhanced his spear with his mystical energy, launching it into the sky. After taking up the weapons, the spear cut down 2 of the knights, and the Lu Shu lunged towards the leader to overthrow him and threw his axe at another enemy. He picked up a 3rd spear and narrowly dodged the oncoming blow, but when the skeleton almost hit him, he dodged and laughed in the skeleton's face. One of them tried to fire an arrow, but the Lu Shu threw his spear as he spun around and grabbed the other. As that skeleton was eliminated, he threw his spear at the skeleton that was running towards him. The leader tried to cut him with his sword, but Lu Shu managed to defend himself and knock down a skeleton that was riding a horse. Immediately, he slashed at the swordsman and jumped towards the last skeleton to smash it into the ground. After taking them all down, he managed to secure all of his weapons. Meanwhile, his little sister was shooting darts at his face. After all, it's been a while since he's been in contact with her. Very angry, she ended up opening a box that her brother had told her not to open, but she ended up finding another box inside. After a while of opening boxes, he saw a bag of chips inside, but the note told her to wait until he got home so they could eat it together. So she smiled and put the package away, but felt sad because he wasn't responding to any of her messages. Meanwhile, Lu Shu was climbing another mountain to ambush more soldiers, but while no one appeared, he began to meditate and finally ate another heavenly fruit. The magic hour transported him back to his solar system, and he was able to unlock another planet while feeling the power of the fruit. The heavenly net prepared to ambush a group of 9 skeleton soldiers, and just as they were about to make the surprise attack, a spear appeared from the sky to strike down their leader. After the body disappeared, 2 more were launched into the sky, and a 3rd threw the skeleton against the wall. Lu Shu finally made his entrance, and the heavenly network decided to help him, but Lu Shu eliminated another soldier with his spear and began running towards the others to eliminate them. With only 2 soldiers remaining, the Lu Shu drew his sword and began running towards one of them, and when one of them tried to ambush him from the rear, the Lu Shu ducked down and stabbed the soldier, eliminating him. Everyone started wondering how powerful he was, and a guy who literally had no eyes asked if he was Lu Shu, and his friend told him that he should open his eyes instead of asking that stupid question. And when everyone asked why he was attacking the skeletons with so much force, without even expecting to help them, Lu Shu waited, saying that all the weapons were his. After a while, he managed to gather all the spears and swords, and protected all his weapons from other people. One of the leaders of this expedition asked why he is collecting so many weapons if he can't use them all. Then he revealed that the man was wrong, and started showing off his weapons, telling everyone that they could come and get his weapons at a very good price. For Lu Shu, all his years of selling eggs were just a trial period for this moment. He told everyone that defense is worth more than gold in this situation, so the man asked if he could buy a sword, but Lu Shu realized that no one had real money in there. So, he asked the man how much his jade necklace was worth. The man said it was worth a lot of money, and Lu Shu offered an exchange, but the man rejected the deal. A soldier stepped forward and decided to make a deal, and offered his rich people's watch in exchange for a sword. One of them offered a 27-carat gold chain, while the other offered a very expensive watch as well. He saw how everyone was hurt, and if he was a person full of money with a living, he would help them. But because he was a poor, fucked up, miserable failure, Lu Shu decided to just cash in on them all. Everyone started lining up, and before long Lu Shu was showered in gold. Two people decided to pool their funds, and paid a good money for a sword, but Lu Shu gave them an axe, saying that this money was not enough for a sword. However, he showed them that the axe was actually sharper than a sword, so the man gladly accepted. When the Lu Shu finished negotiating, the group finally entered the center of the ruins, and the Lu Shu at that point was the happiest man in the world for being so rich. After walking for hours, they decided to camp and spend the night, and the Lu Shu noticed that everyone was hungry and were running out of water, so for the first time in his life he decided not to be a threat. He handed the leader a bunch of apples so that everyone could cut them and eat a single little piece. As soon as everyone had eaten a small slice, they realized that their energy had been restored, and all hunger and thirst had been satisfied. It was at this moment that they began to offer more things for a simple apple. He accepted the offer and realized he was about to become a millionaire. One of them tried to call Lu Shu evil for hoarding all the food and trying to sell it, but he responded saying it was their fault for being so useless. Suddenly a gust of wind came out of the ravine, and dozens of ghosts began to fly towards them. All the students prepared to attack, but when the ghosts approached them, Lu Shu felt his dagger trying to come out of his chest, but he tried to hide it, as this is not a good time to reveal his secret weapon. As soon as a ghost came close to Lu Shu, he felt a terrifying presence coming from him, seeing Lu Shu as some kind of demonic being. So he ran away, and all the ghosts started to escape the area. That's how Lu Shu realized that his abilities are getting more and more powerful as he advances. Finally they arrived at the center of the ruin. One of the boys said to his friend here the queen herself had saved him from 2 skeletons, and he fell in love with her. Lu Shu pretended that there wasn't, and realized that this was the perfect chance to show how rich he had become, so he started selling his weapons and buying even more jewelry. All the people started offering him millions of dollars, and when he finished selling most of them, a man called him to meet with the leaders of the Heavenly Network. When he arrived, he made a point of showing how rich he was, because if he married someone who was a gold digger, he would know right away. The leader of the Celestial Network introduced himself to him, telling him to stop selling his spears since he knows how to use them. 1,000 weapons are worth 1,000 weapons in the hands of those who know how to use them than a simple weapon in the hands of a useless person. Lu Shu agreed, so the leader approached the center of the ruin and began to activate his magic. From within himself he withdrew his sword and sent it into the ruin. After examining the hole, the leader decided that they would dive into it. After that, while he was resting, Lu Shu's system showed that there were number-named spies in this place, but he had no idea who they could be. Out of nowhere a tree started to fall, and it was Li who threw it in there. However, a squirrel came out of it and started screaming at him, but when the squirrel saw Lu Shu's ugly face he tried to attack him. After everyone collected the fruit, the poor squirrel was about to have a heart attack, but Lu Shu handed him an apple while he was crying, and the squirrel was eternally grateful to him. Out of nowhere Django finally appeared and went to Lu Shu, but some people wanted to steal Lu Shu's weapons, so their leader stepped forward and offered to pay a good amount for a spear when they left here. However, Lu Shu told him that he would not fall for such a scam, and when he received coins from a person whose name was Numbers, he realized that this person was a spy, so he told her to leave. While everyone slept at night, the Lu Shu was happy that his sister was still angry with him, but he realized that now she completely despised him, and he didn't even have a way to explain his situation to her. While he was sleeping, all the spies woke up and started running towards the center of the ruin and jumped straight down. When the latter also tried to jump, something stopped him from falling, and Lu Shu told him that he would not tell on them if they shared the profits, with 99% going to Lu Shu and 1% to him. The spy realized that he was screwed and accepted the deal, but as soon as Lu Shu left and he tried to jump, Lu Shu grabbed him again and smiled with his ugly face. The spies realized that one of them was missing, but decided to continue advancing anyway. The remaining spy tried to catch Lu Shu off guard and threw a talisman towards him, but Lu Shu was already in a completely different place, and he began to shouting to wake everyone up, and said that there was a spy trying to steal the formation's eye, and as soon as he realized the situation and what he was in, he didn't even give the spy time to react. A mystical tiger appeared, and the Li's hand grabbed his face, crushing him against the ruin, and seeing that there were many spies among them, the Li told everyone that they should enter the ruins right now, instead of resting during the night, otherwise the spies might end up stealing their items. The students started to line up, and the leader was finding Lu Shu very strange, with all those jewels, but later Li realized that he might be a smart man, so he asked Lu Shu if he would like to make a deal. He revealed that hundreds of ruins began to be opened, but as Lu Shu was just a student, he couldn't enter without his permission, so for the price of a single gold chain, the Li would call him to all the ruins, but the Lu Shu called him self-serving and left. When everyone was ready to enter, a woman went to the center and activated a magic spell, which began to create stairs along the edge of the hole. As they descended, hundreds of ghosts began to run from the center, and the Lu Shu tried to keep his knife far away from them. When they reached the bottom of the well, the Li saw that the bodies of the spies were rigid, so he realized that their spirits must have left their bodies, this being a great way to avoid the ghosts that that surround them. After walking for hours, they finally reached the entrance to the core of the ruins, but as soon as they entered, a gate closed behind them. From above, crystals began to shine, and hundreds of ghosts appeared. Then the Lee summoned all his magical power to blow them up with a single shot. However, there were still many ghosts above, so the soldiers started trying to take them down together. And when one ghost tried to attack the Lu Shu, the creature was too scared to get closer, and he wondered why the creatures were so afraid of him. He began to attack all the ghosts and absorb their bodies with his sword. However, one of the spying ghosts he gave me a longtime friend of the law, so he shouted releases his tiger powers to eliminate them all. And while Lu Shu wondered where the others had gone, his dark knife began to glow, and he struck down the ghost before it could reach him. It was at this moment that some people started to ask how he knew where the ghost would attack him, but he said it was just a coincidence and pure luck. So he showed his luck, sending the Lee to attack a random place, and the Lee's attack Lee ended up hitting a ghost, shocking everyone. Lee asked him to indicate another place, but after a while Lee's blows stopped hitting the ghosts, and so everyone really believed that Lu Shu is just a full-blown boy lucky. From the central gate an army of zombies appeared, and the Lee told them that he would take care of their leader, so he ran towards them and their powers began to clash against each other. The Lee had an attack that made all of the ground shook beneath them, and eliminated their horse before landing. The rest of the soldiers drew their weapons and rushed forward to fight the zombies. But while everyone was fighting, the Lu Shu began to throw the soldier, obtaining a triple kill with a single spear. However, one of them almost shot at his cost, but coincidence came to save him from death, and he used his agility to dodge of all the attacks. While cutting them all down, he thought she looked amazing and started rushing to eliminate another zombie. However, the zombie began to run away for his life, and he realized that his knife was scaring them all. Their army was advancing slowly, and while Lu Shu thought about helping his allies not die, he realized that he was in a giant castle, so he decided to sneak inside and look for something to sell. In the middle of the entrance his knife began to radiate light, and a mysterious hour watched. When he entered a certain room, a ghost was preparing to ambush him, but Lu Shu dodged and used his sharp sword to penetrate the body of the ghost, eliminating him quickly. After that he wondered how many spies were still left. At the same time as this was happening, Lee was fighting for his life. The skeleton was giving everything to try to defeat Lee, but Lee dodged his blows and advanced even further towards him. However, the skeleton was also good at dodging, but Lee continued to pursue him with his martial arts tactics. They kept pushing each other back and forth in that cute style, and the skeleton called it an annoying fly, and they kept measuring their strength, going from one side to the other. At the same time Lu Shu finally approached the door of the central room of the castle and opened it. As he entered he saw something moving, but as soon as he walked away, the eyes of the two statues eliminated each other and began to advance towards him. Immediately his dagger flew out, stopping the advance of the guards, who retreated back to their positions. As he put away his spears, he realized that this was the perfect opportunity to earn more money, so he looked at the guard's face and tried to pull out his weapon. The poor royal guard was getting irritated, but ended up handing over the weapon, and Lu Shu continued earning coins from them. He began to go to each guard and take away their weapons. Meanwhile the soldiers were still fighting for their lives, and Lu Shu tried to grab his enemy's spear so that they could escape from this cursed place, but the knight did not want to let go of his spear, which made Lu Shu believe that that spear really was the eye of the formation. Because of this, they began to give their all, using their energy to the maximum. None of the soldiers were able to advance, and the situation was so bad that Lu Shu was almost eliminated, but coincidence drew his sword and eliminated 5 skeletons in one interval of half a second. Very close to the law, the leader of the skeletons concentrated his energy on 3 dragons, who started running towards there, and the guy barely dodged and ended up being caught by an explosion, which instead of actually eliminating trapped him even more. And to make everything worse, a dragon was coming to bite him in the back and eliminate him. And when everyone thought he was really going to die, the Lee cast his last spell to free himself and ran towards the knight, grabbing his spear and kicking him. Coincidence continued to eliminate the rest of the skeletons, and then climbed to a high place and look for where Lu Shu was, but he had completely disappeared. As Lu Shu went deeper into the room, the leader skeleton felt the presence of someone in the room he was supposed to be guarding, so he let go of his spear and started running towards Lu Shu. It was at that moment that the Lee realized that the skeleton's eye formation was another thing, and he began to run after the knight. When the leader of the skeletons returned, he saw that none of his guards had their spears, and now the Lee had already caught up with him. However, the skeleton ordered the knights to end Lee's life, and began running towards Lu Shu's location. At that exact moment Lu Shu was picking up a strange item, until out of nowhere he noticed a skeleton soldier behind him. The enemy started running towards him, and Lu Shu accidentally dropped a mysterious item from the box. While the item was still in the air, Lu Shu managed to catch the object. At that moment the colors began to disappear from the world, including the enemies and the people trapped inside. The world began to collapse, and the entire ground began to break, with humans being swallowed. Gravity no longer existed, and everyone's energy was being sucked into Lu Shu's item. Suddenly the spears formed a circle around him before being swallowed, and as the ground beneath his legs disappeared, the squirrel tried to cling to him before disappearing. After that everyone finally returned to their world. Then we see the Jang starting to run looking for Lu Shu. At the same time coincidence started running looking for some trace of him, while the Li was sneaking out of the camp. A while later we see all the soldiers handing over their items until the Jiang came running and shouting saying that he couldn't find Lu Shu, and then an instructor said emotionally that Lu Shu did a great job sacrificing himself to save the others. When the instructor said this, some people were happy, saying that he deserved to die after tricking them, but the class leader was sad and told an instructor that they could at least look for his body. However, Lu Shu appeared in the blink of an eye and went to the leader of the group saying that he only stayed alive so he could continue mining his mother's body during the night. He handed his remaining weapons to an instructor, and the weight of them broke the table. As he walked home, his imam's negative emotions began to increase, and he saw a bag of chips and saw that she was waiting for him at the door. He tried to extend his arms for a hug, but she jumped and crushed his face with her feet. She started to investigate his body, and when she finished she was happy to see that he wasn't scratched and hugged him crying. He apologized for making her wait so long, but she started running home, so he started following her. When they returned to the street, he said that he had become rich. He showed her the expensive watches he had gotten, but she didn't care about money anymore because the only thing he cared about was him. He promised that he would take him to a nice restaurant tomorrow so he could make her happy, so they promised each other that they would never be separated. On the way home, the old 6C of the sword was happy to see that he had come back sane and salt, and he told them to rest before they continued practicing, and Lu Shu thanked him for taking care of his imam while he was gone. When they were alone inside the house, Lu Shu asked her to summon the body of that guy that she can summon, and after she did that, he summoned 2 magical pearls from his body. She asked him what those stones were, and he explained that one is made of the ghosts he absorbed, and the other is made of the humans who turned into ghosts. He wanted to know what would happen without her invocation starting, so Lu Shu stuck one of those balls in the ghost's mouth, and immediately the strength of the energy body increased a lot, and Xiao Yui asked him when he would stop intimidating her invocations. He told her he had one last gift and took 2 apples from inside. When she ate the apples, she obviously found them delicious, and it was at that moment that the damn squirrel appeared again and started cursing her for eating the little apple from him. However, Xiao Yui grabbed him and said he was the cutest thing she had ever seen and started playing with his face. Lu Shu told her to give the little creature a name, so she decided to called him Chubby, but Lu Shu told her that that wasn't a Chinese anime name, so she decided to call the squirrel Li Xiao and gave him a potato chip. After the squirrel ate her, the girl had a brilliant idea and placed him in front of a bag of chips and told him that she would only feed him if he obeyed, and Lu Shu was shocked by the effectiveness of his manipulation. When everything was resolved, he looked at the ruin and tried to transport his consciousness into it. Before his eyes he was floating on top of the entire city, but there was still something wrong, so when he brought his consciousness back, he decided to enter the bottom of the formation's eye and saw that all his weapons that were consumed are inside. Before his eyes a giant door stood in his way, and when he tried to open it the door barely moved, so all he could do was take a look inside, and he saw the castle he was in, stuck there before with everyone. However, Xiao Yu started trying to wake him up, and when he tried to explain what he was doing, he hugged him saying he was afraid he was going to leave her again. He said he wouldn't leave her for long and promised to take her for dinner, and also promised to buy a cool TV with all the gold chains he collected. Now the winter snow was finally starting to melt and the fireworks were lighting up the sky. The main thing of all was that the Lu Shu was happy to be sharing this moment with Xiao Yu because she was the only thing that mattered in his entire world.